Hello! Today I have a transformation for you. This was my mom's old shirt and the brand is really nice. It's Leffler. So the fabric is super nice on it. It's really beautiful color. The lace is just amazing. I knew I wanted the design for this piece to parallel the beauty of this fabric. And so I wanted to make something more unique, really elegant and intimate. And I think I delivered on that pretty well, so I hope you all enjoy watching this. Here's the shirt I'm starting out with, just your basic loose U-neck. It also comes with a tie. For the design, I decided on a bodice with a deep sweetheart neckline and a straight back with hooks and eyes instead of a zipper on the back. I'm going to be modifying my basic bodice pattern I made for myself, which you can find the link I used for this down below. To modify this pattern, I'm basically just getting rid of that high neck and sketching my new sweetheart neckline. The back pattern is pretty easy to change. I'm just making a straight line across with a slight dip down in the middle. Now to start deconstructing the top, I'm going to seam rip this pretty trim from the neckline so I can use it as my straps later. I'm also going to carefully remove this nice button clasp to use that later too. Now I'm going to cut away the front from the back, right at that seam line. Also, since this fabric has a bit of stretch, I'm going to cut away the fabric away from the lace, so that they'll be able to lay nicely together. I'm folding my front piece in half, lining up my front pattern piece, and then cutting that out using the pencil guidelines that I made before, and I'm also making it longer. Same for the back, fold, line up, and then cut. With the front piece, I'm stitching a line around these sides that don't have stitching to secure the lace to the fabric underneath so I can more easily work with it. Then after that, I'm serging all of these edges. If you don't have a serger, try a zigzag stitch right on the edges and it gives the same effect. I also marked and stitched in my darts. Here I'm hemming the top, just folding over once since I serged those raw edges, also adding in a couple small pieces of lace to the neckline. I also decided to add in the straps at this step, folding into it here, turning out to look like this, and also trimming the excess lace off. Now for the back. I made a little mistake when cutting out my patterns, so I'm going to have to work around this. I need to line the back, so I'm just using a simple white cotton fabric. I'm going to serge the top of these pieces together, turning out to look like this, which I can then fold over once and sew down, making a nice hem like so. Then I cut up my lining fabric at approximately the same length as my outer fabric, and serging this edge so it's just a little bit shorter than my outer fabric. Now I'm going to triple check all of my measurements before sewing the side seams, making sure it will fit me, marking them with pins right sides together. So here is my bust measurement, and here is my waist measurement. With that mistake I made earlier, I'm going to try my best to sew around this on the side seam. And to make it super clear, I'm drawing lines with a pencil on where I want to sew these seams. The front piece ended up being longer than the back, so I'll need to hem this. I decided on serging the ends, then doing a single fold to hem instead of double folding like the garment had already, because it was easier and it looked just the same to me. With that hemmed, I can now sew my side seams, which I did by serging, then making a final stitch just beside that serging. I found this absolutely perfect piece with 2 sets of eyes to use for the back. So to include this, I need to cut right down the center of the back. For these raw edges, I am serging both. I'll first hand stitch that button eye to the top. Then to sew on the eye trimming, I'll fold this serged edge over once, then stitch that trimming down underneath, first folding over the top to make a nice edge, and zigzag stitching this end. Now to get out that needle and thread, I'm going to hand stitch the button to the top and each hook to the right spot on the edge, which I folded over and hemmed before. Towards the end, I decided to make a couple adjustments to things I didn't like. For example, I wanted these folds to be left open at the bottom, which I had to seam rip the hem out and then double fold and sew that back down. I also changed the neckline because it's not what I set out to do and I really didn't like it. So I snipped down and folded until I got what I wanted and sewed this down. The very last step was to sew down my straps to the inside of the back, which I zigzag stitched the ends, then folded upwards and stitched down. And here's what I ended up with. So, how do you like it? Let me know down below. This transformation was definitely a challenge for me. It is probably the most technical thing I've ever done. I made a couple mistakes, but I would say it definitely came together. I definitely did everything that I wanted to do with this beautiful fabric. Thanks again so much for watching. I hope that this inspires or encourages you to get out there and make something with your own hands, whether it be sewing or anything else creative. I absolutely love being a creator. This project was really fun for me. Although challenging, it's definitely super rewarding anytime I make something. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time.